On April 22nd of this year, college presidents across the country signed a letter to the Trump administration denouncing the executive actions threatening higher education funding. Entitled A Call for Constructive Engagement, the letter came out against, quote, unprecedented government overreach and political interference, and coercive use of public research funding in higher education. More than 300 college and university presidents have signed the letter, including several here in Oregon. Lewis and Clark President Robin Holmes-Sullivan was among the first to sign it. Holmes-Sullivan is the 26th president of Lewis and Clark, taking the helm in 2022 after stints at the University of California and the University of Oregon. She is also Lewis and Clark's first female president and person of color to have that title. Welcome to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you, Ken. Great to be here.
Well, let's talk about the letter. Why did you sign on to that letter with all the other college presidents?
I think it was really very important. And as a matter of fact, the number got up to about 650 who eventually signed on. And, you know, it's somewhat unusual in higher education for us to show really strong solidarity. And we really need to come out strong in letting the government know that interference such as what's happening now is really hurting our institutions and hurting our country.
Which of the president's executive orders or funding freezes are affecting Lewis and Clark, if any?
All of them, actually. We've had some of our research funding clawed back and cut, which really impacts our reach and our ability to support the region. We definitely have had to respond to the various Dear Colleague letters that have given direction around certain programs that we have or that we've considered as we go forward. And so really all of the executive orders toward higher education has an impact on all of the institutions.
Some of the president's executive actions call for the elimination of DEI in higher education. Where is Lewis and Clark on the issue of DEI?
Well, you know, one of the things that's really important, I think, for any institution, and I would say this is definitely the case for Lewis and Clark, is that we're a very mission-driven institution. And I think the missions of universities and colleges really started to shift, you know, like 20 to 30 years ago around access and inclusion, right? Because educated citizenry is exactly what we need in a strong democracy. So you want to make sure that everyone has a chance to attend college or trade school or wherever else they want to go. And so the focus on inclusion and equity really makes sense for an institution, and it's always been and always will be a part of our mission. And so that's really how we focus on things. And of course, we always follow the law, and we always are thinking about Title VI and other civil rights legislations and laws that we as an institution have to and do follow.
Have you made any changes to your policies regarding DEI since the Trump administration has targeted that?
Well, like I said before, that since we've always followed the law, and I really feel like we've always made sure that we knew what those laws are, I didn't think we really had to make a lot of changes. But of course, given the new direction and the information that was coming out of the Trump administration, we did take a very, very hard look to make sure that we were in compliance with the new administration's directives.
So you feel comfortable in that area right now?
Absolutely, yes.
The president has also accused some colleges of promoting anti-Semitism. Has that been an issue at Lewis and Clark?
It's been an issue at all colleges, and it has been for a very, very long time, as well as other forms of racism. And the thing about it, we have a collection of young people who are trying to figure out who they are, right, and what they believe in and what they stand for. And what we should be doing is creating an environment for all of those issues to be explored so that they understand who they are and how they can be in this global economy in ways that are going to be really effective. And that means knowing how to work with others, knowing how to have difficult conversations, and not feeling as though they're being censored in some way that they can't have those conversations. So that's what we've been really leaning into, and that has led to some really, really, I think, good conversations on our campus. Hard conversations at times, but I think in the long run, it's exactly what we should be doing as an institution.
Let's talk about Harvard right now. They're pushing back. They sued the federal government over the funding freezes. And then this week, late this week, the administration ordered Harvard to not accept any more international students. Harvard has pushed back. They've already sued regarding that. So what's your take on the Harvard case, and why do you think the administration is going after Harvard so hard?
Well, and this gets back to why I thought, and many other presidents thought, it was important to sign the AAC&U letter, which is that government overreach and attacks are are really, really not helpful for the health of our institutions, right? There's an autonomy that has to be present in order for us to educate our students. And this administration seems to be really bent on that not being the case. I feel for Harvard. I mean, they really are in the spotlight. I think that started back with some of the congressional hearings that happened with the three presidents, one of the presidents being the Harvard president, the feeling that the schools were not responding in the ways that the government wanted them to respond. It's complicated and it's nuanced, and I really think as institutions, we are trying to do our best, to do the best that we can. And so unfortunately, Harvard has really been in the crosshairs. I don't see how they have a choice but to fight back, right? If they don't, we lose that sense of autonomy and the bedrock of what makes our institutions and the institutions in the United States the envy of the world, right? That's really what's at stake here, I believe. And so I just don't see how they can sit back and allow that kind of autonomy to be jeopardized.
Yeah, especially since Harvard is regarded as one of the top institutions in the world, not
Sure.
just this nation. Locally, you recently entered into a partnership with Albina Vision Trust. Albina Vision Trust created to buy back land, rebuild community in the historically black neighborhood. Albina Vision Trust calls this the largest restorative redevelopment effort in America, targeting 94 acres in North and Northeast Portland. Why did you enter into a relationship with Albina Vision Trust, and what will that look like?
We're very excited about this partnership, and we are big admirers of what Albina Vision Trust has already accomplished. And one of the things that they said in the conversations that we have had over the year and a half or so that we've been talking is that in order for them to really reach their goals of creating the type of district they want to create, they know that they have to have opportunities and programs for education, that education is the bedrock, really, of economic opportunity and development. And so they wanted to partner with an excellent institution that could help them with that goal. So we're developing a shared vision that I think is going to be really something that will be emulated in other cities that are similar to Portland, have had displacement of residents who now are looking to figure out how can we have greater economic opportunities and development for ourselves. And so helping them to help their residents develop new businesses, education, other opportunities. And it's great for our institution too. I have a lot of students who are so invested in doing what's right and helping people and making change. Now they'll have this very direct opportunity to develop those skills and to actualize them in ways that they'll take back to their communities when they leave Lewis and Clark as well. So it's one of those kind of win-win situations that it's going to be great for the city, it's going to be great for our institution, and great for the residents of Albina.
Okay, so briefly, there will be a physical presence. You will have
Yes.
buildings and
We'll be part of an educational hub. We'll be their educational hub physically in Albina, living and learning with the residents and providing programs and services right there in Albina.
We've got about a minute left, but I want to ask you about your mascot name.
Sure.
Lewis and Clark Pioneers. You're changing that, and you will be adopting a new mascot that hasn't been determined yet. Why are you changing the name Pioneers?
Well, it's been interesting. I've been at Lewis and Clark for about 6 years now. And in every one of those years I've been here, there's always been talk and chatter about the discomfort with that particular moniker of the pioneers. There's nothing wrong with the word pioneer. I'm a pioneer. You're a pioneer, right? That's a great concept, right? It's the first of something. But there is a connection in regards to the Pacific Northwest and the displacement of Native American people that is attributable to some of the activity as the pioneers came west. And so for our students, our young people that are here, they're having a hard time yelling, "Go Pioneers." They feel conflicted about that and have for a long time. So they started moving away from calling themselves that on their own. So they asked that we take a look at that process, that we talk with our alumni and students, and decide if this is what really represents who they are as students. And it was decided that it wasn't doing the job of a mascot, right? And so we're going to retire that and move toward greater school spirit so that folks feel they can really participate and figure out what we'll be yelling from the stands, hopefully by sometime in fall term. So,
Okay, so that process is ongoing now, and we will know what the new mascot will be soon.
yeah, please come back and I'll let you know.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here on Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thanks, Ken.